Hi guys, it's TechBoy here with another video. This video is my iPhone 5s review. This is the first review I have done for my channel, and obviously because of the style of videos I do and all that, it doesn't really prove if I own a device or not. So now I'm going to show you some footage of me actually using the device, so you know I personally own it. Okay, I'm recording this on my old phone, which I previously owned prior to this iPhone. I just wanted to show you that I am physically interacting with the phone and all that. And just to prove how the touch sensor works, I just pressed my finger on the home button, then rested on the home button to unlock it like so. It's as easy as that. Very reliable. So now let's go back to the slides to continue the rest of this review. So now before I get started, I just want to do a disclaimer so you know everything behind this before I actually got the device and all that. Very similar to what John Rettinger did on Techno Buffalo. I've owned this device since the 7th of October. It is my first smartphone. Yes, you heard me right. It is my first smartphone. And I did not get it just because I'm running this channel, because I personally just wanted to upgrade to one in general and all that. Prior to getting the iPhone 5s, I've owned a Nokia 5233 touchscreen phone on the left side. It's good for what it does, but it's dated very quickly. And an iPod Touch second generation, which you will see in the middle. It's running on the Virgin Mobile network, which is owned by the Optus network here in Australia. And during this review, I'm going to focus more on hardware than software. And because I've got so much to go through, there's no way I'm going to be able to fit all of this into 15 minutes. So I've decided for the first time for my channel, I am going to split this over two parts. And I'll let you know when I finish one part and provide you the link to get to the second half. And if you haven't already watched it, please watch the first link in the description below, which goes to a video based on how I review products and all that. Basically, I break it down into 4 categories, talk about each of them, and then give them a score for each, and then a grand total in the end. But it's very unique, so I'd advise you watch that before going ahead and watching this video. So let's get started. Inputs. The 4.0-inch Retina display is a really nice display. I find it very responsive. It has a very good resolution on the screen, because if you put a higher resolution on that screen, it's not going to achieve anything. If anything, it will waste more battery life just for the sake of it. I find it a good size for single-handed use, because I can hold it in my right hand and stretch my thumb all the way to the top left corner. But with gestures in iOS 7 to swipe back to the previous page by swiping your thumb from the left to the right side of the screen, both the edges, especially in the notes, music, the remote app you can download through iTunes, through the App Store, Safari, messages and email, you do not need to stretch your thumb as much, because you don't need to get it to the top corner to hit the back button, for example. So a larger screen may be nice, but I would personally like to see it, or at least try a iPhone with a 4.5 to a 4.8 inch screen in the shops before upgrading my phone to whatever they bring out next, once my contract expires. The Touch ID is one of the selling points for the iPhone 5s itself, and I find it very reliable, but it is by no means perfect. In terms of reliability, it works around 8 out of 10 times. Out of those 2 times that it doesn't work, one of the 10 times I can generally get it on the second attempt, and the other 1 out of 10 times generally takes more than 2 attempts. But I've never got to the point where I need to put in my 4-digit PIN in order to unlock the phone. All of these errors could be because I had my finger on the sensor wrong, and or trying to push the boundaries of it and what it's capable of doing by holding it in a different orientation, only putting part of the thumb on the finger. It's little things like that. I'm trying to push it to the limit, but I find it very reliable for what it goes out to achieve. very reliable enough to make me use it on a day-to-day basis. The camera is really great, and even though the megapixels are not everything because they didn't increase it, I wish they improve it in the next generation, because they've had an 8 megapixel sensor since the iPhone 4S. So they had in the 4S, the 5, the 5C, and now the 5S. But I understand where they went with the 5S itself and made the pixels bigger and all that. That's all very well. But I hope in the next gen they add more pixels to make it like a 12 or 13 megapixel sensor, but retain it at the same size as the pixels in the iPhone 5S. So that way it stands out from all the other competitors, especially the phones that they brought out this year. The slow-mo video is in 720p and it's really great. I've tried it in multiple scenarios to see how well it works, and it does work really well, especially for playing it back. The video recording is really great. I really like the user interface in the app itself to take the photos and videos and all that. I wish the photos were in 16:9, but that's just a small complaint. So you don't need to record videos to achieve that aspect ratio, and it takes it at a resolution of 1920 by 1080, which is the resolution of the video recordings when you go to do that. But I'm saying 16 by 9 compared to a standard photo which is in 4:3, which is not to be confused with the square mode in the camera. People call it Instagram mode. I have personally not used the FaceTime HD camera, the front-facing camera, but from basic testing of it, it does seem very satisfactory for what it goes out to achieve. The microphone on the bottom works really well for services like Siri and voice to text. In terms of accuracy for voice to text, I only really do it when I'm not in public and all of that, and no one's really around, because otherwise you look stupid in public and all that. But I get probably about 90% success rate. It may get the odd word or two wrong, and by the time you edit that, it's still quicker than if you typed a very long text. Siri is at times incredibly slow to respond, especially if I say something like pause music or open Temple Run 2, because it could take at least 7-8 seconds for it to recognize what I'm asking and then do it. It's little things like that that I wish Siri could do offline, meaning it does not need an internet connection in order to recognize what you're saying. I'm more than happy for it to take up 1 to 2 gig on my phone. By the way, I have a 64 gig version, so I can probably afford 1 to 2 gigs space taken. If it means I can get faster Siri and at the same time get it to use less of my monthly data allowance. Siri is very good, but I wish I could ask a lot more things to it, such as how are the Bombers going, which is an AFL team here in Australia. Since AFL support is not available for Siri yet, instead it just brings up a web search. I also would like to see the option to select what words you could say to type a full stop when you do the voiceover, because you have to say full stop instead of period. Because when I watched all these dictation videos for voice to text, when they brought it to the new iPad, which is really iPad 3, they showed it as though you've got to say period. So I started saying period all this time. Turns out it will just type the word period, P-E-R-I-O-D, and not a full stop itself. So I would just like to see that as an option as to what words you have to say for it to do that. Now I'm going to go on and talk about the outputs. The speaker quality is really good compared to my iPod Touch 2nd generation, especially in terms of loudness, which is what I used on a daily basis prior to getting the iPhone 5S. I wish there were 2 separate speakers on the bottom like the iPad Air now has, but otherwise it is a great speaker. I wish the available ringtones in iOS 7 that they provide with the phone out of the box would just ring a little bit louder than they are currently, despite me having the volume full all the way up for the ringer itself. I still don't find it that loud enough, but it's just a small complaint. I hope they provide more exaggerate controls for making it louder and all that. And connecting to other wireless networks are really good, but I hope they improve on it. 4G LTE is not available in my area as of when I've been making this review, but Virgin Mobile, who I am with, will provide LTE in my area once it becomes available, hopefully by the end of the year. So I'm really looking forward to that for the increased speeds, especially when I'm out and about. 3G internet works really well from a phone perspective, but I wish it was slightly faster from Optus networks, and I wish Apple puts a toggle for mobile data in the control center, because that drove me insane. Because you hear of all these bills of people getting bill shocks and all that of outrageous data bills, because they don't turn off their mobile data, but they put on Wi-Fi, and then it switches over to your mobile data if you haven't got a very good Wi-Fi connection. So what I personally do is turn on Wi-Fi and mobile data off just to make sure. But I really hope they put the toggle for mobile data in the control center itself, or at least give you the option to have it. I haven't personally used AirDrop yet because I haven't got any other devices or seen anyone with compatible devices to do it with, or have the scenario to do it with. And I'll update the description below with my experiences of this feature once it becomes available, and likewise for 4G LTE. So I'm going to leave it there for this half, and if you click the second link in the description below, it will take you to the second half of this video. So I hope to see you there.